Environmental Precinct. I'm dyslexic, sorry. And we'll leave it to you. Thanks, Lyle.
Thanks. Big thanks to the symposium for allowing us to showcase our special rating area. I'll be giving just a broad overview on what a special rating area is, why is Giba unique, and then just looking at the structure and the function of what we do at Giba Gorge, and then some of the challenges that we are faced with. So let's get the text out of the way. What is a special rating area? It's essentially a partnership between landowners, private landowners, and council that's formalized through the formation of a Section 21 company, which is a not-for-profit company. And there's a memorandum of agreement that's set up with council, with that Section 21 company, and a rate additional to the usual property rate is then drawn from each landowner and given to council, which then feeds back into the Section 21 company, and they use that for implementation of whatever key objectives they might have for that particular area. This is all audited independently, and the council is quite strict in terms of making sure everyone follows the line. There are various requirements that need to be met when you are setting up a special rating area. You have to have a defined boundary. You also have to have key goals that are, that obviously are pertinent to that area. You then need to, and it's no mean feat, but you need that 66% majority vote from the landowners to obviously get on board and agree to paying that extra rate. This requires a lot of door-to-door sales work, a lot of presentations, and kudos to Alistair McInnes, my predecessor. He did a lot of that work, and he was instrumental in setting up this area. Again, you also need accountability, you need budget plans, you need business plans, you need your management plan set out, and you need to present this to these people and show them how those funds are going to be used. What you're going to do in the area needs to be aligned to the integrated development protocol, but yeah, basically for what is a plan for the area by council. So if you're setting up an environmental area within an area that's been identified for housing, you're not going to get council support. And then most importantly, you need a core group of landowners within that defined area that are committed to this special rating area. Without them, you're going to go nowhere. And Giba's quite lucky. We have some great guys on board, and I'll talk about them a bit later. So a typical SRA you might be aware of is the Mhlanga Precinct, and then Maytime. Some people may be aware of it. And their main focus is on security and urban improvement. So it's services like aesthetic, tourism-based, those sort of things. They have a small environmental aspect to them, but it's not a major deliverable on their agenda. But if we look at Giba, how it's unique is that, well, I'll talk about the problem first. Is we in eThekwini, a lot of our environmental areas or environmentally important areas are under private ownership, and it makes it hard for us to get in there and manage those areas because obviously of conflicting ideas and agendas. But so what we've done is we looked at a special rating area model and thought, let's use that with the key principle being environmental management. So this is the boundary of Giba here in the red, and the white parcels are essentially the individual landowners that fall within it. And you can see this is the main gorge that runs up here, and then it falls down, and this is we actually have McIntosh Falls. You probably have seen it when you're driving up the N3, that massive gorge with the forest on the right if you're going up, and left if you're going down. So if we zoom into an area, you'll see here we have this interface or this interaction between formal residential areas and grasslands or natural areas on the left. And it's these people that border these areas that are paying that extra rate. Just a bit more detail in terms of the funding. So we have a management budget that is shown to the people and hopefully approved by them. And unique to Giba, we have three streams of funding. We have the landowner contributions, which is that special rate. We then also have a contribution by municipality for land that we own within the gorge, and we have a number of land parcels that we do own, and we've bought these, like was mentioned by my colleagues, because they were identified as environmentally sensitive, and we couldn't allow any development on them. And then we have this here, which is quite an issue. It's co-management funds, but they're only given to us for 5 years. So it's because this is a pilot project. It's something that council decided to give us and allow us to find our feet and look for funding and obviously work out the realities in terms of budgeting. Now we have 2 years left of that, and I'll talk a bit later to issues around that. So yeah, like I said, this is then directed by the rate system to ourselves, the council, and then we feed it back to that Section 21 company. Okay, just the structure of Giba. We have the core group is this working committee. Yeah, it's those core those committed landlords that I talked about. We have 10 in our group, and the key thing with them is they have a range of expertise. We have engineers, construction company owners, environmental consultants, myself as an ecologist, guys that are good with websites, fundraising, that sort of thing. So you can see this is our newsletter that we send out. This is some of the GIS work we do for our conservation management planning. And yeah, these are the guys sitting down here doing the hard work. We then, under that, have a conservation staff. Our conservation team, this is Tutuka Majola. He does some amazing work within the gorge with a small team of guys. In terms of natural area, of about 250 hectares of land that needs to be managed. So, you know, it is a small team, but they really, really are important, and they do some great work. Yeah, and out of that structure, we then look at these two key aspects here. It's invasive plant clearing. We have probably our main species are eucalypt invasion into our grasslands. We have a lot of ginger lily and sword fern in the forest areas, and then bracken fern is something that is invading our grasslands at the moment, and is starting to become actually a key issue that we need to tackle. And then also looking at maintenance of our grasslands. I'll talk to why that's important a bit later, but yeah, we do more the planning and help with tracer cuts and that sort of thing, but working on fire, which Becca spoke about, do the actual implementation. Some of the other stuff we do is we do have trails that we maintain, and we're actually busy opening up a new trail to Macintosh Falls, which is a beautiful waterfall that you saw a picture of in the contents page. I can go back if you want to have a look at it. We do put signage up for areas of just for you know, information purposes, or danger warnings or things like that. Sometimes we have illegal dumping, which is a problem throughout Durban, and we monitor that and look to clean it up. Something that's very important in my eyes is anti-poaching. We have a massive issue in terms of mutu harvesting. Guys come, and it's not sustainable. It's guys coming in and literally stripping bark from as high as they can reach all around the tree, effectively ring barking it and killing it. And you can actually see areas where these events have happened because they slowly die off, and you just get these clearings within the forest. So we've had quite a massive push to do patrols and look to curb it. And we have, I mean, the last event was early 2011, and we literally haven't seen anything since then. It might also be part of the fact that we now paint our trees. So we use donated paint to paint as far as we can, and literally they don't touch anything that's been painted. So it's quite unique. And then finally soil erosion control of our roads and trails that are within the gorge. Okay, so what does all of this cost? Basically, this is just a draft budget of a month and what it takes in terms of finances to do all of this. And you'll see, by and large, salaries is our major cost, and then repairs and maintenance to our equipment, so our brush cutters, our Rhino, which is a quad type bike, petrols and lubricants, and herbicides are also a main cost. So just gives you an idea. So you're looking at just under 30,000 Rand to do all of this. So we look at the benefits now. And these are some of them. I mean, I could go on listing them. But yeah, on the left you have Tutuka holding a ruby-footed giant black millipede. This is a very restricted home range. Essentially, Giba and a few surrounding areas is where it exists. So quite important to conserve this area. This is our grasslands here. We've got KwaZulu-Natal, which is a critically endangered grassland that falls within the gorge, and we have probably some of the, or maybe some of the other people might argue, but I think some of the best quality KwaZulu-Natal in the gorge. So that's quite important. We are positioned on the upper catchment of the Mshlatzana, so we provide ecological goods and services such as water provision, water purification, stormwater attenuation, that sort of thing. We have large areas of coastal scarp forest, which is a vulnerable vegetation type. And again, I talked about that mutu harvesting, which is a threat. And then, quite large population of blue and grey duiker, as well as bushbuck, bush pig, and those sort of things. We also have 2 nests of crown eagles. We've had spotted ground thrush found in the reserve. So there's a lot of stuff that is there that needs protection and management. We also look to actively recover areas in terms of invasive aliens. You'll see here, this is an area that in 2010 was covered by eucalypts. And then the guys worked really hard. And you can see now in 2012, we've actually structurally got a grassland that's there. It provides a surrogate habitat. Things are utilizing it and nesting in there. And we are looking at species reintroductions into those areas to try and get it back to what it was prior to that invasion. Quickly, here's a picture of one of our grasslands. So you can see we're maintaining the quality or the diversity in terms of flora within those. And these are just some of the pictures of what we found in them. So you have Hypoxus, Bouquet, Buffon, Thunbergia, and the like. But just to draw your attention, these two, Bouquet and Buffon, require fire to flower. So it's important that we do utilize, formal fire management in that area. The challenges that we faced, finances by and large is our biggest challenge. Like I said, there is that co-management funding that is finite in terms of its time. We need to find alternative to that because otherwise we can literally only pay wages and buy some herbicides. So that's quite critical. Coming out of finances, we only have a small conservation management team, and it's sometimes a bit difficult to strike a balance between doing initial clears and trying to get into areas that you want to get into, while still following up on other areas. If you remember the boundary, you'll see that, it's quite linear in terms of the natural area, it's quite linear, and it's got a lot of edge effects, which means we get a lot of seeding, like was mentioned earlier, from other areas that comes in, and we get a lot of regrowth in areas that we've already cleared. So it's important that we continue that follow-up and don't let those go again. So the one other thing is we've got a bit of an issue with sometimes landowners, not a major issue, but sometimes landowners have different ideas in terms of what environment is, how one should implement management of the environment, and that sometimes comes up as a bit of an issue, but we deal with it for the most part. So finally, as a way forward, how are we going to get around these challenges is we've already put in an application for lots of funding, and we are in the second phase, and it's a significant amount of money that will keep us going for quite a while. So hopefully that'll come through. Also looking at payment for ecosystem goods and services, which is done by one of our other branches within our department. But we're hoping to piggyback on that. So you can see here we sit at the upper catchment. So a lot of open space around these important tributaries. We're also looking at increasing the special rating area boundary. So here on the red is our boundary here, our current boundary. And we're looking to include this yellow portion here and all this, which is Winston Park here. And then add a secondary security aspect in terms of one of our key objectives. So we'll get all that extra rating here, provide centralized security, and then the remainder will go to managing Giba as well as these grasslands on the plateaus here. And then obviously coming from that, we'll be able to then increase our management team, and we also have increased our landowner participation. We're looking at holding more public meetings. Some of my other colleagues are going to assist in terms of doing information sharing, similar to what was done for working on fire. So that's essentially Giba Gorge in a nutshell. Quite broad, but an SRA, an environmental SRA, is quite an innovative way of looking to manage privately owned areas within an urban environment, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about and looking to expand. If anyone wants any information on the intricacies or more detail in terms of how to do this, my email's at the bottom. So thank you very much.
Why am I getting a warm, fuzzy feeling? Questions for Lyle?
Would the long-term objective be to make it self-sustainable, where you wouldn't have input from the municipality?
Of course, You see, the problem is the perception of we've noticed that as long as their special rate is below 100 Rand, people are pretty okay with giving it. But there's like a perception that if one's paying too much, they're not quite sure that the benefits are there. So one of the other parts of the plan, I see Chuma is here, is we're looking at the social benefits and maybe the property value benefits of paying that extra rate. And so, yeah, exactly. We're seeing it. If you're reading adverts for properties that border Giba, you see it borders Giba Gorge Environmental Precinct. So it's something that's a selling point. So what we hope is, okay, we have the co-management fund, and yes, we'll use the lotto funding, but once the residents pick up on how important it is that we have this special rating area, they'll be more willing to pay a little bit more, because if we can just double their special rate, we would probably become self-sufficient. So it's just changing that mindset and just showcasing what we do in the gorge, and then hopefully getting a little bit more out of them and then making it self-sufficient.
Another question? Joyce?
With regards to your alien hearing program, what happens to the biomass, biomass after hearing?
We actually have a secondary social benefit where we have, with the larger stuff, we have a community member who has set up, he's from Shalinyama, who set up a small business where he employs local community members to come in and collect wood for firewood. So what happens is we will do the main clearing, but he'll come in and then wait for it to dry out a little bit, as long as it's not within the grass and it's not going to impact the area, and then he'll come in and chop it up, bag it, and then take it and sell it to the garages and to that sort of thing. With the remainder of the stuff, we use it for, like, we put it in contours to manage erosion, so we'll brush pack in contours and that sort of thing for the smaller crowns and things like that. But yeah.
Irene, Irene, I'm coming to you. First you.
Lyle, how easily accessible is the reserve?
It's quite accessible. We've got two main entrances. If I can just quickly go back to the... might be a bit slow, but essentially, okay, this is the one access here. This is St. Helier Road. This is the alternative freeway going up to Maritzburg. You can access it from here. We have a small parking area where you can park, and it's free to get in. There's a main road that goes down. You can also access it from Giba Gorge mountain bike park, which is on the other side of the N3 there. Guys often come and ride through Giba. But yeah, we're trying to make it more accessible. We're actually looking at putting a formal management building up where Tutuku will be based, but also to formalize the parking and just to showcase. We want to put signboards up of where our trails are and those sort of things. But it's free to come in, it's free to walk the trails, and yeah. That's that.
And then a follow-up to that is, how well documented is the reserve? And I'm thinking in terms of a bioblitz.
That's we would love to do something like that. If I did get your email, I think. Yeah, we would love to do a bioblitz in there. At the moment, there's been a couple changes to the special rating area policy, which has now become our primary concern. There's a number of things that we have to get out of the way before the 31st of December. But once we've done that, I think, yeah, definitely we'd be very keen. Definitely.